Hey there YouTube, Wrestling Optimus here, back with another unboxing video. First of all, I wanted to wish everyone a happy new year. And speaking of new things, today I'm going to be opening up a bunch of new figures. That's right, each of these wrestlers is not only brand new to my collection, but getting their first action figure ever. And I'm pumped to check them all out. So without any further ado, let's get unboxing. Okay, we're going to be starting off today with the only WWE figure that we have, and that is going to be Indi Hartwell. This is actually going to go straight into the NXT drawer, because that's where she is wrestling right now. This is her first time in the line, and she is part of Series 134. Spinning around to see who else is in here. We got Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, as well as Shelton Benjamin and Sami Zayn. The box is a little bent up, but I don't care about packaging. It looks like her signature moves are the springboard elbow drop and the slingshot rocket kick, and she is a technician. So like I said, this is the first time in the line for Indi, and she is wearing her gear from when she was part of the Way faction with Johnny Gargano, aka Johnny Wrestling, and Candice LeRae, aka Candice Wrestling. So she became Indi Wrestling, because we support indie wrestling. Get it? Yeah, it was a really bad dad joke at the time too, but Johnny Gargano has a kid now, so hey, he's allowed to tell him. But this is a basic, so there's not much else to say other than let's let it breathe. So instantly she's gonna get docked a point because she does not pass the stand-up test. As happens sometimes with these female basic figures, there's not enough articulations in the bottom here, especially at the ankles, to really compensate for the balance issues. So if I wasn't leaning her against the backdrop, she just kind of falls over. But there are ways to fix that when posing, so we're only going to deduct 1 point. Let's bring it closer to the camera here and see if we can get some of these details. And there we go. The head sculpt does look pretty good. It's a decent likeness of Indi Hartwell. Also, I'm liking the hair. That looks just like the type of hairstyle that she uses. There does seem to maybe be a little bit of a paint mistake in this eye, but that's a real nitpick. Otherwise, I'm really liking this gear. It says Indi right here on her bottom. And we have the Way logo here on the top, so that's pretty cool. Moving down, we have more Way logos on her knee pads. And then continuing down, just some basic black boots. Spinning around, yet more Way logos on the back of her trunks. And if we move her hair here, it says The Way. So that's a really cool vest, I like that. Overall, because she doesn't stand up too well, and there's some slight paint errors, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10, but overall a pretty solid figure for being first time in the line. Next, we're moving over to the AEW Women's Division with Red Velvet. She's currently one of Jade Cargill's baddies, but she's been teasing dissension the last couple of weeks, so hopefully she gets on TV a little more, because I do like Red Velvet. This is number 38 as part of Series 5 in the Unmatched collection. If we spin it around, that series also includes Sammy Guevara, Shawn Spears, Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson, and the LJN Darby Allin. She's from straight out of Yo Mama's Kitchen, and this picture here is from Dynamite on March 3rd, 2021 from Jacksonville, Florida. I do believe that was still down there at Daly's place. It looks like the only accessories we're going to get are an extra set of hands, so that might dock it a point, but we'll see. Otherwise, let's let it breathe. And here she is. This is the best I could do with that stir-it-up hand gesture she does. Anyway, here are those extra hands. They're just some basic fists. And here is Red Velvet. She stands up great, unlike Indi Hartwell. My first impressions are, as with every AEW figure, it looks great. But while the camera focuses in and I move these arms down a little bit, I will say I'm just a little bit disappointed with the face sculpt. Up until this recent run with Jade Cargill, she was a uber baby face, so she was smiling all the time. And we decided to give her a scowl for some reason. Even that's okay, but give me a second head with a smile. But either way, the ring gear does look great, and let's check out these tattoos as we get the figure closer here. We have this cool kind of floral design on the shoulder there, down into what appears to be a wolf and a dream catcher on the bicep. And then I believe it says 1 heart here on her rib cage. There you go, now you can see it pretty well. I think that's all of her tattoos though. And outside of some pretty cool kick pads on the boots here, there's not much else to the gear itself. Again, no accessories, and I really think it could have used another head or a different face sculpt. So I think I'm actually going to take this all the way down to a 7.5 out of 10. It's still a good figure. I recommend getting it if you're a fan of Red Velvet, but there's definitely a few things they could have done to improve this, especially for somebody's first figure ever. If you saw my last video, I was giving out 9s and 10s for a lot of figures that were first time in the line. So especially in comparison, they could have done Red Velvet a little better. However, again, still a solid figure overall. Next up, I was really bummed when I couldn't get this guy in time for the video where I did all the other Dark Order members, but here he is, Johnny Hungy, John Silver. Not only does it look like we get a couple of extra sets of hands here, but we also get a second head sculpt, and this is coming with some Upper Deck trading cards. I'm excited. This is number 20 as part of Series 3. Spinning it around, this came with the rest of the Dark Order figures, Mr. Brody Lee, Stu Grayson, who I didn't get because he quit the company, Evil Uno, and Anna J, who is now part of the Jericho Appreciation Society. His picture is from Full Gear 2020, and John is one of my favorite wrestlers in AEW. He's so funny. He pretty much single-handedly got me into watching BTE, so I'm really excited to open up this figure, and I'll be really interested to see in terms of scale if he is shorter than other figures in this line. But yeah, there's nothing else to do other than let him breathe. Here he is, Johnny Hungy. He stands up just fine. And if we set him next to Wardlow here, you see he is noticeably shorter, so that is really cool. Gotta love whenever they make the scale appropriate. Before we take a look at the accessories, let's open up this pack of cards real quick. See who we got. We got Cody Rhodes, whoops, Mr. Defection. Okay, Chris Jericho. And Joey Janela, whoops, he's gone too. Oh well, decent cards, we'll add them to the collection, which currently looks like this. So we got a whole bunch of them from other figures that we opened up. As for extras, it looks like we got a set of closed fists, as well as an open palm. We also got a second head sculpt because let's face it, that is way too stern a face for Johnny Hungy. We need the super happy Johnny Hungy head. There it is. Look at that. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. In fact, let's take a look at this stern face real quick. It does look good, don't get me wrong. We'll kind of get it from all sides there, but I am going to swap it out because I want the happy Hungy. There we go. Much better. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the figure here. For those of you who don't know, this jacket is actually really important to John Silver. This was given to him directly by Mr. Brody Lee shortly before his passing. And he famously told John that it made him look like a superstar, so he wears it all the time now to remember Mr. Brody Lee, his former leader of the Dark Order. And here it is with the Dark Order logo on the back, and it says Dark Order Silver for John Silver. Otherwise, honestly, he does just kind of wear a basic set of trunks, but we do have this cool Dark Order knee pad as well, and then some basic black boots. So normally I might say that there's not much to this figure, but if you think about it, we got a nice bit of apparel, we got a second head, we got a couple of extra hands, and the detailing's really good. So I'm gonna go with a 9 out of 10 for John Silver, Johnny Hungy of the Dark Order. Now they just need to make an Alex Reynolds to finish out the group. Our next wrestler comes by way of NWA Power. It is Absolute Ricky Starks. I'm actually really excited to get this figure when I am because he is currently in the middle of a big push and a program against MJF, the current world champion, so I may end up using Ricky here sooner rather than later. Doesn't look like we're getting much in the way of accessories, but we are getting 2 full sets of extra hands. This is number 75 as part of Series 9 in the Unrivaled collection. If we spin it around, this series also includes Eddie Kingston, Brian Cage, Christian Cage, Thunder Rosa, and Powerhouse Hobbs. And his picture here is from AEW Dark all the way back in October of 2020. So that was in like the height of the pandemic. That was definitely when he and Team Taz were terrorizing Daly's place. But like I said, nowadays he's a babyface, and I can't wait to open up this figure, so let's let him breathe. The revolution will be televised. It's absolute Ricky Starks! As always, before we dive into the figure itself, we did get an extra set of closed fists, as well as an extra set of mic holding hands, so lots of different hand options for Ricky. Thanks to all these articulations on the AEW figures, I got him here in his classic pose. It does look like the only accessory he comes with, if you can even call it that, is this chain. But let's take a closer look at that head sculpt and see how that looks. Now, MJF has been calling him a discount Dwayne, referring to The Rock, and calling him the Pebble. You can definitely see it a little bit, especially when he decides to give the people's eyebrow. He also does have similar hair to when The Rock was in his early days of his career, but for the most part, I do think that comparison is a little bit off. He doesn't really have any tattoos to take a look at, but I do think that face sculpt is pretty good. It could be a little bit better, so maybe deduct half a point there. Bringing it a little bit closer to the camera here, we see the RS on his tights there. He's also got these kind of stars all over his pads, both his knee pads and his elbow pads, and his wrist cuffs there too. I really do like the color scheme, and I think it's a really great figure for what it is. I just wish there were a few extra accessories. This is, I believe, from his time in Team Taz, so maybe give him something Team Taz related. But I'm gonna knock off a point for being slightly off on the likeness and a lack of accessories, bringing me to a 9 out of 10. Still a really good job, Ricky. And finally, last but not least, we might as well finish out the original Team Taz by getting the Machine, Brian Cage, the first guy that Taz actually brought into the company. Taz introduced Brian Cage during a ladder match that he ended up going on to win. He had a very quick push as a monster before turning on Team Taz, and he's now part of the Embassy in Ring of Honor, along with the Gates of Agony, and under the management of Prince Nana. The Swolverine here, which is another one of his nicknames, also seems to come with an extra set of hands and an extra head sculpt, so that's pretty cool. He is number 74 as part of Series 9 of the Unrivaled Collection. This is the same one we just saw with Ricky Starks, but his picture is from October of 2021 in Philadelphia, PA. I think I was actually at that event. Yeah, because I think that would have been the 2-year anniversary show. So that's a pretty cool connection to this figure. Anyway, it's time to open it up and let him breathe. Again, before we take a look at this individual figure, I just wanted to admire the accuracy of scale when it comes to these AEW figures. Notice how much wider Brian Cage is than, say, Ricky Starks, but how both of them are taller than John Silver. It's that kind of attention to detail that adult collectors like myself really appreciate. But anyway, Brian Cage here does come with an extra set of mic holding hands. He also comes with a second head sculpt. This is just kind of a neutral face, but we do see his awesome Wolverine-style mutton chops. The face that comes by default on the figure is this kind of angry, screaming face. He isn't called the Swolverine for nothing. He is one of the biggest guys on the roster in terms of just raw muscle mass. So I'm really glad to see this super big figure when it comes to the actual body type they used. Another thing I appreciate is that they use different sets of abs. Notice how they look different here than they do over on Brian Cage. So you can tell they're not just using the same body types over and over for multiple guys like Mattel tends to do with WWE figures. Scrolling down here, we see, in addition to that awesome yelling face there, we also have some really great ring gear. It's stylized in black, white, and gold. Yes, just like me, he is a big X-Men fan, hence that Swolverine nickname. So we have this kind of allusion to the X-Men logo right there. Spinning it around to the back here, hopefully the camera stays in focus. It looks like we have this really cool skull design with what appears to be a gear, and then it says the Machine above it. That's pretty cool too. We have one black and one white boot here with some kick pads and those nice graphics on the front. So yeah, this is actually a really great figure. I would say this is arguably the best one of the day. Per usual, I always want more accessories. I'm pretty sure he won the first poker chip, so give him a poker chip. I don't know, that is nitpicking because again, the figure itself is pretty cool and it did come with some extra stuff. So I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10, really good job. And I now have the complete original Team Taz. That's right, Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, and Will Hobbs, as well as a Taz action figure. They were always one of my favorite AEW factions, and I'm sad to see them break up, but hey, at least Hook is carrying on that FTW banner. Alright, that'll do it for today. If you liked the video, make sure to do all that normal YouTube stuff. Smash the like button, share with any wrestling or action figure fans you may know, subscribe to the channel, and spread the word. You can also talk to me over on Twitter at WrestlingOptimus, or see all my best figure photography over on Instagram at WrestlingOptimus. If you haven't seen my latest video, you can check that out right here. But until next time, I've been Wrestling Optimus, and I'll catch you later.